My name is Darren Cole. I'm 29 years old, and on June 14, 2020, I died on lap 131. My heart simply stopped. It was the biggest race of the season. The Daytona circuit buzzed like a living thing. Fans on their feet, cameras flashing, engines howling like thunder trapped in steel. I'd never felt more alive. My team was locked in. The car was perfect, and I was leading the pack. We'd just come out of turn 3 full throttle when it happened. No warning, no crash, no smoke, just silence. One moment I was gripping the wheel, pushing 200 miles per hour. The next, I was floating above it all. Above the track, the cars, the crowd, even my own body slumped in the driver's seat. The car drifted to the apron, perfectly guided by some quiet grace. My hands weren't on the wheel anymore, but the machine slowed like it understood. I saw the crew leap from pit wall. I saw the yellow flag drop. I saw my name flash across the leaderboard, and then vanish. And yet I wasn't afraid. Instead, I felt weightless, like all the pressure, all the years of fighting to prove I was more than just speed and sponsorships had finally lifted. Then the sky above me split like a canvas tearing open. And the light, it wasn't just bright, it was pure. It wasn't stadium lights or camera flashes. It was alive, gentle but fierce, like it knew me, like it had waited. And in that light stood a figure, tall, calm, dressed in radiant white, yet more real than anything I'd seen on earth. His presence stilled every question in me before I could even speak. He didn't need to introduce himself. I knew, Jesus. His eyes met mine, and in that one look, I saw everything. My childhood, my victories, my losses, my pride, my pain. He saw it all, and he didn't look away. Darren, he said, and my soul shook at the sound of it. You crossed many finish lines, but there's one race that matters more. I didn't answer, couldn't. My voice wasn't mine anymore. He reached out his hand, and when I took it, the real race began. I stood beside Jesus on ground that wasn't ground. It shimmered like light wearing form, solid beneath my feet yet weightless. The noise of the world had faded. There was no crowd, no race, no roar of engines. Just presence. His presence. He gestured gently, and the space around us began to shift. At first, I saw only flashes. My first go-kart, age 6, helmet too big, dad laughing from the sidelines. Then teenage years, my mother crying quietly after another missed Sunday dinner. The note on the counter I didn't answer. The moments flowed faster now. A sponsorship deal signed out of pride. A teammate's wife who asked me to pray for her husband's surgery, and I said I would, but didn't. My little sister's baptism I skipped for a preseason test in Nevada. All small moments. I thought they were harmless, but now I saw them for what they really were, laps in the wrong direction. Jesus stood beside me the whole time, not judging, not accusing, just letting me see. And every moment I ignored God, every time I chose the noise over the still small voice, felt like a weight I never noticed I was carrying. You were always looking for something, he said, but you looked for it in speed, in applause, in control. I dropped my gaze, ashamed. I didn't know, I whispered. You did, he replied. Not cruel, not cold, just true. Every time your heart ached, every time you laid awake wondering if it was all worth it. That was me, calling. I thought of the nights alone in hotel rooms after races, staring at ceilings, drowning in silence. I thought of the crowd cheers that faded into nothing the moment I stepped off the podium. You weren't built for temporary glory, Jesus said. You were made for eternal purpose. Suddenly, the images shifted again. This time, I saw the people I'd impacted, the good and the bad. A boy in a wheelchair gripping one of my signed hats like it was treasure. A young mechanic I had once shouted at in frustration. His eyes had dimmed that day. A fan who told me I inspired him to dream, and I brushed him off on my way to a VIP lounge. Each moment was a ripple. I saw the chain reaction. I saw what kindness could have sparked, and what pride had crushed. I dropped to my knees, or whatever my soul used in place of knees. I thought I was doing good. You were, he said softly. But good without me leaves a man empty. I wept, but the tears weren't bitter. They were clean, like something dark was washing out of me. I felt lighter, not because I'd earned it, but because I was being forgiven. You've always had purpose, Jesus said, but now you'll understand it. He reached out and touched my chest, or where my heart used to be, and suddenly the world around us tore open again. The light surged, the air pulsed, and I saw what was next. The field of light around us twisted like a turning gear, and suddenly we were no longer standing in memory. We were somewhere else, above the earth. I floated beside Jesus on a kind of invisible platform that wasn't made of anything earthly, yet it held us. Below us, the entire planet, glowing blue and green, wrapped in thin clouds. "Look," he said. I gazed down, and at first, it looked like weather patterns, mist and movement. But as I focused, I saw something different. Not clouds, but waves of shadow crawling over regions, cities, even homes. They pulsed like veins across the surface. "What is that?" I asked. "Distraction, division, deception." Jesus pointed toward one of the dark zones, and the view zoomed in without motion. I saw living rooms with families seated together but facing away, eyes locked on screens, hearts disconnected. I saw boardrooms making decisions not for people but for power. I saw churches filled with noise but missing love. Everywhere I looked, people were searching for meaning but drinking poison instead. "They chase what cannot satisfy," he said. "And when the world spins faster, they speed up, thinking that faster means safer." I swallowed hard. It hit too close. "But isn't that what I did?" I asked. "My whole life was about being faster. And now you see where it ends," he said gently. "Not in a crash, not in a trophy, but in truth." Then the world below shimmered again. I saw flashes of conflict. Leaders yelling in chambers, tanks moving across borders, towers shaking in storms, families fighting in kitchens. Every piece of it tied to something unseen. Dark figures whispering into minds, invisible chains wrapped around souls. A cold wave passed through me. "There's more at stake than what you saw," Jesus said. "This isn't just about racing. It's about influence. You were born to lead, but not just on the track." He raised his hand, and suddenly golden threads of light rose from different parts of the globe. Some from small churches, some from bedrooms, some from places of pain, prisons, shelters, battlefields. "Prayer," he said. "Faith. These are the breaks that stop catastrophe." I watched as these threads wove together across the sky. Where they crossed, the darkness slowed. Where they spread, the shadows cracked and dissolved. I turned to him, overwhelmed. "What do you want me to do?" His eyes pierced me, not to wound, but to anchor. "Warn them, show them, tell them that the speed of life means nothing if it leads off a cliff. Call them back to me. They don't need perfection. They need surrender." The vision began to fade. The earth dimmed. The threads of light remained, burning like constellations. "Why me?" I whispered. He smiled, not amused, but sure. "Because they'll listen to you now." The stars around us dimmed, and the air grew still. I wasn't sure where we were anymore. We stood in something like space, but it didn't feel empty. It felt charged, intentional. Jesus turned to me. "You know what a checkered flag means on earth," he said. "Victory," I replied. He nodded. "But here, it means something else. It means surrender." I didn't answer. I felt the weight of that word like a stone in my chest. I had surrendered before, to pressure, to money, to my own ego. But I had never surrendered to him. He pointed ahead, and a new vision unfolded. I saw a massive crowd, not like at a raceway, but a spiritual gathering. People standing side by side. No grandstands, no vendors, just worship. Hands lifted, faces radiant. And then I saw something else. Some of them were wearing my racing jacket. It took a second to understand. They weren't just fans. They were people I'd inspired, not with speed, but with what was coming next. He turned back to me. "You thought your legacy was your career, but your true legacy hasn't even started." Then he showed me a child. A little boy sitting in a hospital room watching a video of me. Not racing, but telling this story. The boy's eyes welled with tears. He turned to his mother and said, "I want to know Jesus too." Another image. A mechanic listening through earbuds in a dark garage. He paused his work. He closed his eyes. He whispered, "I'm sorry, God." That was the beginning of his return. A single testimony, one message, passed from mouth to mouth, screen to screen, was reaching places I could never go by car. "You were created for this," Jesus said. "To reach them, not with talent, with truth." I lowered my head. "But I didn't live like I believed in you." "That's why they'll believe you," he said. "Because you finally did." There was no pride in his voice, just purpose. Then he stepped closer. "You've seen enough. Now you must go back." I flinched. The thought of leaving this peace, this perfection, felt like crashing all over again. "Will I remember this?" I asked. "Not all of it," he replied. "But the important part will remain, the truth you've seen." I looked at him one last time, drinking in every detail. The lines of light across his face, the quiet power in his eyes, the love that didn't need words. "I'm afraid," I admitted. He placed his hand over my heart, and in that touch was more courage than I had ever known. "I am with you," he said. "Now run your real race." And with that, everything disappeared. The light collapsed inward, not violently, but like a breath being pulled back into lungs. I felt myself falling, but not through space, through meaning, through memory, through time. Then sound. Not heavenly choirs, just chaos. The echo of people shouting. The squeal of wheels against pavement. Radios blaring. Oxygen masks hissing. But none of it reached me. Not yet. I was hovering again. But this time only a few feet above my own body. I saw the medics. I saw the panic. I saw my crew chief with his hands on his head, lips moving in silent prayer. One medic pressed on my chest, rhythmically, desperately. Another gripped paddles and shouted something I couldn't hear. My body jolted once, then again. Still no movement. "Come on, Darren," someone whispered through tears. Then the pulse monitor beeped. Once, then again, faster, I gasped. It wasn't dramatic. There was no thunderclap, no camera-perfect moment. Just a sudden, sharp breath. Air filling lungs that weren't supposed to work anymore. Eyes opened, voices yelled. But I didn't look at anyone. I looked up, and I knew what had just happened. I had been gone, and I had been sent back. Not because I deserved it. Not because I was special, but because I had a message. I sat up as much as I could. Medics tried to hold me down, but I raised one hand weakly. Just one. And with every ounce of strength in me, I said what needed to be said. "He's real." The team froze. "Jesus is real." That was all I could say before darkness took me again. Not death this time, just sleep. But the seed had been planted. It's strange. How many things I remembered once I came back. Not everything. Not the full vision. Not every face or word. But the weight of it. The meaning. The moment when I realized that nothing I ever chased could compare to what I had seen in his eyes. That weight followed me like a second heartbeat. You don't come back from death the same. And even if you try to pretend, you can't forget the truth that grabbed your soul and pulled it out of your body. You can't unsee what it looks like when heaven watches earth with sorrow and hope at the same time. I never shared this to impress anyone. If you'd asked me before, I'd say I was a man who had everything: money, fame, a name on jackets and posters. I signed deals. I flew private. I got applause every time I took off my helmet. But what I didn't have was peace. And I never even noticed. Peace isn't found in a paycheck or a podium. It doesn't show up when the crowd chants your name. It shows up when you realize that someone greater knows your name already and says it with love, not expectation. That's what changed me. The race I thought I'd lost that day, it was never about the track. It was about the eternal one. I was made for speed. That's true. But I wasn't made to outrun meaning. I was made to deliver it. You are too. And now that I've seen the other side, I need to tell you this clearly, before the engine noise of your life drowns it out again. You are being called. Every late night you feel empty. Every time you wonder why success doesn't satisfy. Every time you scroll endlessly, hoping something will break through the boredom. That's your spirit aching for its creator. It's not about being perfect. It's not about religion. It's about returning. You were made to know him, not just hear about him, not just ask for help when life explodes, but to know him. And one day, maybe sooner than you think, your own race will hit the final turn. You'll leave your body like I did, and you'll see what actually mattered. And I promise you, it won't be trophies, or headlines, or numbers in your bank account. It'll be one thing. Did you know Jesus, or just know of him? Don't wait to find out the hard way. I came back to say this: turn around, run home. The finish line is closer than you think. It's wild how blind you can be to your own reality. When you're chasing wins, you stop asking why. When life moves fast enough, you forget you're even running. That's the trap. And it's everywhere. For me, it was racing. For others, it's careers, platforms, parties, money, power, admiration, attention. But no matter the path, the engine underneath is always the same: distraction. In the vision, I saw millions of people walking paths they never questioned. It was like a global race happening every day, silent, invisible. No finish line in sight, just movement, rush, stress, noise. Some thought they were chasing success. Others were just surviving. And yet, most never even paused long enough to ask, where am I headed? I saw men building empires, never noticing their hearts were hollow. I saw women pouring everything into appearances while their souls were starving. I saw kids already addicted to applause before they ever formed their own identity. And behind it all, a system that rewards noise and ignores truth. There's a lie we've swallowed as a generation, that the louder, faster, richer, flashier life is, the better. But it's a lie. I saw the end of that path. It's empty. There's a reason people with everything still feel like nothing. We were created for something more. In that place of light, I saw that more. I tasted what real identity felt like. Not performance, not perfection, not trying harder, just belonging. To him. To the one who knew me before my first breath and met me after my last. And now I know why I was sent back. Not to warn you about death, but to awaken you to life. Eternal life doesn't start after the grave. It starts the moment you open your heart and say, yes, I'm done running. The moment you surrender your path for his, everything changes. You stop chasing shadows, you stop clinging to lies, you see clearly. And when you do, you realize the real catastrophe isn't dying. It's living without ever knowing why. There's a moment after death, if you're lucky enough to come back, that you never forget. It's not the light. It's not the faces you saw. It's the clarity, the raw, unbearable clarity that everything you once held high meant so little, and everything you ignored, that was everything. I used to believe I was self-made, that I'd climbed here on grit and talent. But in that space beyond breath, I saw the scaffolding of grace that held me up all along. I saw the prayers of a grandmother I barely remembered. I saw the protection that should have failed but didn't. I saw mercy in moments I thought were luck. I saw how close I'd come, again and again, to the end, and how patient he had been. You don't understand what it means to be loved until you've been pursued that long, that faithfully, even while you run in the opposite direction with everything you've got. He never gave up on me. Not when I mocked him under my breath. Not when I partied away my purpose. Not when I used people to cover up the ache I refused to name. Even when I was surrounded by thousands, I was still just a man walking deeper into noise, while a savior whispered my name above it all. And when I crossed that invisible line on lap 131, the one no checkered flag can mark, he was waiting. Not with anger, but with truth. He didn't show me rules. He showed me relationship, not religion. Rescue. He didn't shame me with my sins. He showed me what I could have been if I'd trusted him sooner. The people I could have reached. The weight I didn't have to carry. The peace I missed chasing things that never had power to fill me. And then, he gave me one more lap. One more shot. Not to fix everything. I couldn't, but to speak. To warn, to plead. You're still breathing. That means your race isn't over. But don't wait for a supernatural vision to wake you up. If you're reading this, that is the wake-up call. Because the real catastrophe is not dying. It's reaching the end of your race and realizing you were never even on the right track. Some people ask, what did he look like? And I always say, it's not his face you remember. It's what you feel when he looks at you. You don't feel fear. You feel seen. Not for what the world sees, but for what you are under it all. No trophies, no titles, just a soul. Cracked, tired, unfinished, and somehow still worth everything to him. In those final moments before I was sent back, Jesus didn't give me a speech. He gave me a look that burned deeper than any race, any dream, any failure. Then he said one last thing, just 3 words. Tell them why I raced, why I died, why I came back. Not to build a brand, not to make fans, not even to inspire, but to tell you this: you were made to know him. And if you ignore that, you may win the race of this world, but you'll lose the one that matters. My eyes snapped open. No lights, no tunnel, no slow fade in, just breath, sudden and sharp, like I'd never known it before. I was alive. People were shouting. Hands grabbed at me. Someone cried out my name, but I didn't hear any of it. All I heard was the voice that sent me back. Tell them why. So here it is. You were not made just to exist. You were made to belong. There's only one race that matters, and it ends at the feet of Jesus. Don't wait for a crash to wake you up. Wake up now, come home.